Hello and welcome to the Legend of Podcast Trails Through Trails, the podcast where we play through the long-running Trails series chapter by chapter, game by game. I'm your host, Matt, otherwise known as Ponk on the internet. I use he, him pronouns.
And I'm your other host, Lex, and I use she, her pronouns.
And this week we are blazing a trail through the prologue chapter of Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. We'll be starting off with the first half of the prologue because it is a bit of a meaty one. So for anyone playing along at home, we are playing from the start of the game through to the first time you go to bed at the end of a hard day's work.
Exactly.
So, Lex, how are you? How has your week been? How are you going?
My week's been all right. I started a new job a couple weeks ago, so it's been pretty busy, but it's good to have a job. That's real nice. Real nice.
It is pretty good.
And I've been thinking about trails a lot. I keep finding myself writing things about trails down when I'm in a really boring meeting.
I can't imagine why you'd be thinking so much about trails right now. That seems really out of character.
Completely out of character. No one has ever accused me of being a sicko for these games, after all.
Especially not everyone in the Worst Garbage Discord currently, as this show I think is the worst kept secret in the community currently. So
really
hello to
is.
everyone who's waiting there patiently. We're getting there. We'll let you know soon, probably. This is from the
By
past.
the time you're hearing this, you know about it. For sure.
By the time you're hearing about this, it's officially a podcast. Hello and welcome. So yes, this is our first episode addressing Trails in the Sky. I'm really excited. I've also oddly spent a lot of the week thinking a lot about trails, playing trails, writing things down about trails.
Getting your settings to finally run smoothly.
My goodness, I'm so excited. So yes, as I mentioned on the previous episode, our sort of intro, episode 0 of the show, I have been playing Trails in the Sky on my MacBook through a Windows emulator magic program that I just pressed one button and it made it all work for me, which is the best kind of setup for me. I've been a console-only gamer for a number of years now, and I really like the it just go concept because that's what I need. I don't want to have to fiddle with settings. Unfortunately, ironically, I did have to fiddle with settings a lot anyway because my sweet little MacBook that I'm recording on right now, she's an old lady. It's like 2015 or something, whenever they first did the MacBook with the little touch bar, which I think they've now retired because it wasn't that good. It struggled. I was having a real trouble just in the main town in the prologue, Rolent. My computer was chugging, and this is not a recent game, so that was a bit embarrassing.
No.
My original intent was to hook it all up to the TV with a controller so that I could play on the big screen, and it was just between the delay from the laptop to the TV and then just the laptop struggling to run this 90s game. It was a big hassle, and then I just kept changing settings, and then one combination worked, and I was very happy. It now runs perfectly smoothly in all the areas. I can play on the big screen. It feels really nostalgic as a setup. Just like a big spritey RPG on the big screen.
Yeah, it looks great in your photos.
I am really happy with it. Plus, it still works to take screenshots as I'm playing. So any weird or funny lines I catch along the way, I can capture, which is great.
There's so many.
And just to remind the audience at home, how are you playing the game, Lex?
I am playing it on the Steam Deck. I have not played it on the Steam Deck before, so I was fiddling a bit with the controls. There are a lot of community layouts that you can use for it, which is great, but I took one as a template and then fiddled a lot with it, so I'm playing it there. It's really nice to have it handheld. It feels, it was on the PSP. I think it was a Windows ported to PSP originally in Japanese or something like that, but it was great as a handheld, and it remains great as a handheld. And, that's a reminder. Put it on Switch. Put it on Switch. But it's not there.
Please, 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 please. We do have the remake, The First, instead of First Chapter, coming soon, which is coming to the Switch, and I suppose Switch 2 more likely, because those early trailers definitely look like they would be a struggle bus for the current Nintendo Switch device.
I actually think they're now showing the logo First Chapter, but First is a number one as opposed First, but they've added the word chapter. Maybe it's in the Japanese logo. It doesn't have that, and then I think I saw that. So, but it's numbers. So I guess it's not FC. It's 1C.
Yeah,
I think we're just gonna end up calling it
muddying
First.
the water. Between the fact that the series changed name halfway through the arc, and now they're switching it up, but maybe only switching it in certain regions. It's a nightmare to try and figure out what the proper true name is to refer. We'll just have to say Sky and Sky Remake in the end, I think.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the That'll be the move. And speaking of Sky, do we want to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Or first, actually, what have you been up to other than... I thought I had asked, but I didn't. What have you been up to other than thinking about Trails of the Sky and getting your MacBook to play it this week?
Other than getting my MacBook to play it, I also had to get a little laptop table to put my laptop running the game because, oh boy, does this very simple little game make my laptop very, very hot to the touch, and I was worried it would burn a hole through my bed or couch while I had it all hooked up. So that was it. I also tried to set up more for the podcast this week. I've got a lovely pop filter over my mic now, so I don't breathe heavily into the mic so much. Unfortunately, it's not big enough. It only covers the tip, Lex.
Just the tip.
Just the tip?
You should have gotten a Magnum.
I should have gotten a Magnum mic condom, but I did not. So that is another journey that I'm going on. But it's purple, and I'm very happy about that. Swings and roundabouts. But no, other than that, just regular week stuff. I spent my time, other than playing Sky, playing a lot of other games, which is just par for the course. I'm really on an RPG kick at the moment. I am playing this game, Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky.
Mm-hmm.
I am also playing Ys 7 Lacrimosa of Dana. I'm also playing Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. I'm also playing Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm also playing Xenoblade Chronicles X. And then for some reason I booted up the very start of, oh god, what game was it? I started New Game Plus on something out of nowhere and played it for 5 minutes and then put it down. I'm just chewing through everything at once at the moment. I don't need an ADHD diagnosis, probably.
Well, as someone who does have one, I was on the opposite end of the spectrum this week with hyper-focus on Trails. I was so excited about playing Trails in the Sky again, and I wasn't able to wait after I finished the prologue like a week ago now. I'd have to wait a whole week to then start the first chapter. So I picked up an old save I had from late in second chapter, and I've also been playing that. And that's not my first playthrough of second chapter, to be clear. It's like I was on a second playthrough that I guess I fell off near the end because I had just played it twice in a row, something like that. But now I'm in like chapter 8 of that and chapter 1 of this, or about to play chapter 1 of this. So I've just been trailsing it up a lot.
I appreciate that. Looking forward to the future. It's nice to know that you had saves ready as though you had predicted the future of having yet another reason to circle back through this series.
Yeah, it all circles around. All trails lead in a circle. That wasn't very good.
All trails lead to trails.
Lead through trails. All right, speaking of...
Let's blaze a trail through a trail in the sky. Transition music.
We're good to go!
Okay, so Lex, would you like to set the scene for us as we load up for the very first time for me, the video game Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, first chapter?
Well, as we load up, we load into the first scene where we see a little girl in what looks like a pretty nice family home. You know, very nice, very cozy. They don't tell you the girl's age. She's 11, just letting you know. And she's wondering where her dad is. She says that the guild hasn't told her where he is or when he's going to be home. So she's wondering, and then he shows up. You know, speak of the devil.
Papa.
Now, this little girl is Estelle, and she's our main character.
Yes, a lovely little twin-tailed girl, orange of hair and bright of personality.
And of name.
Oh, true. Imagine that.
Oh, that wasn't even a pun on purpose. How about that?
I've played this video game. Please continue.
So, her dad comes in and tells her that he has a present for her. And she's like, oh, what is it? What is it? And names some, like, outdoorsy type things, I think, that she wants. And he makes a comment about, did I mess up? Aren't little girls supposed to want pretty clothes and jewelry? Which is kind of a weird comment for your, clearly by 11 years of age, you know what your daughter's interests are. But I think there are a few moments in this game where they make weird, pointing out that she's a bit of a tomboy comments that... they're not like deeply offensive comments, but they're a little weird. Like they're a little,
It's just like, hey dad, chill. I do like this kind of Estelle introducing herself, very quickly giving us like a rough look at who she is as a person. But yeah, to dad then go, and that's wrong of you, is not the vibe.
And I say this with love because I love her dad, Cassius. I don't think I've said his name yet. Love him, but it's very strange. And then she replies with something like, I like pretty clothes, but you can't play outside in them and jewels break, which is a really practical answer. I like that they didn't immediately have her be like, no, that's for other girls who are girly girls. She's like, I like those things, but I rather play outside and I can't do that with delicate things, so I don't want them.
Very logical child. I like that she's immediately processing through it. She's like, this is why
Yes.
I don't like that.
Which is also an interesting trait to give us Estelle right at the beginning, because she's not always the type to explain all the logic behind her actions or thoughts. Anyway, the present is none of the above. The present is a boy, and that's a quote. Why is my present a boy?
A boy child.
A boy child about the same age as her. He's got black hair. Everyone really comments on this black hair, which is kind of fun because later in the chapter, people have like blue hair and stuff. And at first, it kind of makes you think, like, is he visibly from another country or ethnicity? Like, is he meant to like not look? But no, there's no implication that he doesn't look of the same ethnicity as everyone else at any other point. They just really make a big deal of how nice his black hair is for some reason. But he has nice black hair.
It is kind of nice for a Japanese audience to be like, oh, black hair is unique and special. I like
That's
that.
true. Good
Probably
point.
not a lot of golden eyes in Japan, naturally.
Amber.
Oh, amber.
The color
Amber
of
is the color
amber.
of your eye energy. I'm so sorry.
Estelle says that particularly too, which I don't think I wouldn't have compared something to amber specifically at 11, I don't think. But maybe that's just me.
I don't know that one was in my vocabulary yet, no.
No. But anyway, they take him up to a bedroom. I think it's like a guest room they have. And he wakes up. And tell me a bit about your first impressions of this boy child present.
Firstly, the boy child I thought was actually a boy child because the sprite of Cassius bringing him into the house, he's sort of swaddled up, very much looks like a baby. I thought a baby was being delivered and that he would be significantly younger than Estelle. So I was a bit surprised when then he was like, shut up, don't tell me what to do, which doesn't sound like a very baby thing to say. Turns out they're a lot closer in age, which was kind of a surprise. I would also be a bit grumpy if I'd been swaddled by a strange man and brought to his home. Yeah, he seems a bit angry, a bit upset. What was it he says? I'll never forgive you, or something equally dramatic.
Something. And what's interesting is it's very clear that Cassius is not telling Estelle everything about the circumstances of how he found this strange boy child. And we don't really know why, like, what it is. It's just clear that, like, he's leaving out details. He's just like, yeah, from work, I came upon him and now he's going to live at our house. He doesn't really give much info. Estelle accepts that. She's probably used to her dad being kind of dodgy by now in terms of he's not going to explain the things he's not going to explain. But she does not take well to Joshua shouting.
What kind of stuff is Cassius regularly bringing home from work when he can just say, hey, we had leftover boy child at the office, so I brought you some.
Well, the slightly disturbing part is Estelle is when Cassius says something about him being asleep, Estelle's like, he's alive? He looks pretty dead to me. And I'm like, you are way too blasé about thinking a corpse of a child was just carried into your house. Like, did she think the swaddling was like burial blankets? Like, and she's just so chill about it.
It was a shroud, not a swaddle.
Exactly, that's the word. Wow.
Yes, thank you for this dead boy child, father. What do you mean my fucking dead boy child is alive? This is not what was advertised.
This is not what it said on the tin. But Estelle doesn't take well to Joshua's shouting, and she starts jumping on the bed, possibly kicking him, possibly just jumping on the bed from the floor and down again every time he shouts. It does shut him up, and she's successful. So she's anti-shouting, but pro-violence.
It's her house, her rules, and she can really do
True.
whatever she wants, even to this strange boy child that she now owns, ? Because he was a gift.
Cassius does say that to Joshua. He's like, don't fight with her. It's like, don't fight her. Just don't try to argue or reason with her. Just go with what she says. Do what she says.
You belong to this girl child now. I'm not telling her everything. You are old enough to communicate whatever you want, but I guess you don't want to. So you live in my house now. Welcome.
Yeah. And then I guess they all need to get sleep after this very exciting evening.
Immediately, yep.
And this brings us into the present day. About 5 years later, I guess.
Doodly doodly do. Flash forward.
Hey, pay attention.
And Estelle is awoken. And how is Estelle awoken?
She is woken by the sounds of some sick harmonica beats directly outside her bedroom window.
Directly outside her bedroom window.
If anyone woke me up that way, whether I knew them or not, we would not be friends. having a harmonica going outside your window. I have it bad enough where I live currently with the fence directly outside my bedroom window is apparently like fuck central for birds because they just sit there screaming at each other all day, all night. I would not be a fan personally, but Estelle seems really like chill with being woken up by harmonica.
I think Josh was supposed to be a better harmonica than any harmonica player I know. Not that they're, coming out of the wazoo in my life, but he does seem to play it pretty well, and I guess she's used to it. The song he's playing, she comes out and she says this is her favorite of the songs he plays. It's called The Whereabouts of Light. It sounds a lot like the theme song from Castle in the Sky, the Miyazaki movie. It sounds a lot like that. And I love that song. And also, skies, thematic. But yeah, it's a pretty song. Clearly familiar song around this house. And the two chat for a bit. Then it's time for breakfast.
Yeah, Josh, I keep calling him Josh in my notes, so I'm going to probably do it a lot while we're talking about him.
You can call him Josh, it's okay. You're close enough.
Yeah, Joshy B. So Joshy B once again reinforces that Estelle's not like other girls because she collects bugs and like gets dirty, and that's crazy. She's just like, hey, I don't collect bugs anymore, and he's like, yeah, I keep finding them, dude. Maybe maybe you've got no legs to stand on currently. Anyway, let's go have breakfast.
Maybe it's fishing bait. Maybe she's just collecting fishing bait. They love fishing in trails.
That's true. This is jumping ahead. Spoiler, is there fishing in this one?
There's a little bit. You don't get the full minigame until next second chapter. There's like a full, you can go fishing all the time. In this one, there's like Estelle liking fishing comes up, and you do get like a little sequence of fishing, but it's not a full-fledged minigame.
What a tease. Okay, so Trails in the Sky first chapter is basically dawn of fishing.
Yeah.
We're sort of setting the
scene.
scene.
She's still collecting her bait.
She's still collecting her bait. She's just getting ready for the next 200 games in the series. Anyway, it's breakfast time. Cassius has cooked breakfast for his two kids because Joshua is now referring to him as Dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's 5 years later. He's taken the surname, so it's Joshua Bright.
Yes. A lot of progress in this relationship, clearly. And today's also apparently a big day for the kids.
Yes,
the kids.
The boy child and girl child are now boy and girl teens, so it's time to get a job.
And they've been training for this job for a while. Estelle's also really excited that she doesn't have to study anymore because she hates studying. She also seems to keep forgetting that they have a test today, even though everyone keeps reminding her, and presumably that's what she's been studying for, that she hates so much. But there's a test coming up, so they have to go and do this test, but as they're leaving, Dad asks them to please pick up a newspaper for him, gives them some money, says they can keep the change. Worth pointing out, when you get a newspaper in this game, you can actually go and read it. It's in your items tab. You can scroll over to the books tab, and you'll see newspapers and other books, and I think at one point you'll end up with a world map in there, that kind of thing, and you can click on it and read it, and often there's some good stuff in there. So it's always fun to check out. Usually there's a new newspaper like once a chapter, but the game doesn't always point it out. You kind of have to notice it in the shop and pick it up.
Yeah, it's one of a number of things that are kind of game-long and series-long collectibles. You've got to pick up the newspaper. You've probably got a novel or two to collect all the chapters of from random people around the world.
Because books are not released all together. They don't release all the chapters together.
No. I think book is another piece of technology that they haven't finished inventing in the world of Zemuria.
And yet they have libraries full of them. It's like they've figured out how to do it in libraries, but if you're out of the library, suddenly the binding just collapses.
I don't know. Any book I've ever read in any kind of library in a Trails game has always been about one chapter. I don't know if they've really figured it out yet.
Oh, you're right. Or you can see like a chapter outline, but you can't read all the chapters. They're just like, here's like the outline of like what this book covers.
Yeah, we've released the table of contents and we'll release chapter 1 next week.
Exactly.
But just an early heads up for anyone playing along for the first time, these types of collectibles often have a reward for getting everything towards the end of the game. It's often items that contribute to sort of an in-game weapon or some sort of towards the end setup that you get a finite amount of, but the more of these sort of side activities you complete and sort of log towards the end of the game, the more opportunity you'll have to max out your power for the final run of the game. So it's always worth looking for the newspaper. It's always worth chatting to everybody, on top of just the joy of having a very, very filled out world. Because these newspapers, they're all written out with more facts about the world of the game, about what's going on, hints about story beats that are coming up. And the novels are always really interesting. I know at least a couple of them analogies for actual world events as well.
Or not just analogies. Some of them are about characters who will show up later. They're just straight up telling the story of a character who will show up in a later game. Lightly fictionalized. Sometimes they don't even change the names, though.
Yeah, my brain jumps to the 3 and 9 chapter collection that's in one of the Cold Steel games, I think.
I think it's in 4. I think Cold Steel 4, yeah.
Which is basically the backstory of 2 characters who then get introduced in a future game. So, yeah, they're interesting to check out, even if you just pick them all up and then read them in one fell swoop at the end. I know I tried to read the chapter-by-chapter stuff in some of the Cold Steel games as I was collecting them, but I just couldn't keep track of what was happening, so it was more nice to have just a full book to read at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dad wants a newspaper, doesn't know how much a newspaper costs, apparently, because he gives you way too much money.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe he's just a generous father, because... Oh, one thing we should mention is walking around the house, you kind of know what Dad spends a lot of his money on, huh?
There is so much booze in this house. There are so many empty bottles of wine and also full bottles of wine. If you go into Cassius's study, it's just bottles of wine everywhere. His bedroom, bottles of wine. The kitchen, bottles of wine. When Joshua and Estelle are outside on the balcony, you can see wine just like all around the what's it called? The porch. Like, just, there's so much wine. He's just the ultimate wine dad.
It is wild. I hadn't noticed it at first until you pointed it out, and I sort of did this slow walk around Estelle and Joshua's home, looking at all of the stacked up wine bottles, assumably empty for the most part, all around the house. You just know that there's a recycling bin around the back that's just overflowing with wine bottles and 40s that Dad's been, just a glass tonight.
Clearly it's stressful raising these kids.
And being a bracer. Because the kids are diving into the family business, because Cassius is if not the number 1 bracer, definitely the most talked about bracer.
The most talked about, though Estelle seems to think he's just kind of a washed up middle-aged guy. But everyone else seems to hold him in higher esteem than that. Estelle's always kind of like, he's just Dad.
Exactly, yeah, he's just Dad. But Joshua and everyone else is like, Dad/Cassius is a pretty big deal.
Pretty cool.
Enough of a big deal that they want to follow in his footsteps and become bracers. So it's time to head off and go to work. They've been essentially interning, learning all of the rules of being a bracer. And now it's time to take their junior bracer exam. Ooh.
Yeah, so at least for me, I did stop in the store first to see if I could get that paper for Cassius and get it off my to-do list, but they don't have the paper in yet. Estelle also asked if they have Strega sneakers, Strega being like the brand name. I do kind of enjoy the fact that sneakers she's trying to buy here and not at the equipment store where you always buy footwear. But apparently the guy is used to her asking for sneakers, so I guess he does sell them sometimes. But no, they don't have a new sneaker, at least not in stock in stores yet. So Estelle is foiled and has to go to work without a new pair of Air Jordans or Stregas or whatever.
I do think it's funny to think that maybe he's just used to having to remind her that he doesn't sell sneakers. Because this is clearly a girl who's not fully in control of remembering what's going on in her own life. So maybe she does just regularly forget, oh yes, the general goods store. Just because I think sneakers are generally good doesn't mean they're sold there.
Generally good sneakers. That should be the slogan.
Sneakers are generally good. I will go into this generally good store.
They are.
Yet another tomboy quality for young Estelle. She likes sneakers, she collects bugs, and she likes to hit things with a big stick.
So they go off to work without a new pair of sneakers. We meet the receptionist, who Aina or Ina, I'm not entirely sure how it's pronounced. I read it as Aina, but A-I-N-A.
I've been saying Ina. I guess we'll find out in a few months' time.
So yeah, and they say hi to her, and they say, Schera's waiting for you upstairs. So they head up, and we meet Schera. Schera is reading tarot cards as she walks in.
She's a tarot girly.
And this is where I have a little surprise for you, because I decided to go and double check what she draws.
Oh.
We're going to talk a little bit about what those cards are. Now, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm also not even sure what kind of, spread she's pulling. There's different types of 5-card spreads. But I did double-check all the meanings of the cards with what I know, and then I double-checked. And they might give some hints, but not spoilers about what's coming up, so I thought it might be fun to talk about.
This is exciting. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I'm so excited, because I don't know anything about tarot either. So please, inform me, what does our tarot girly Scherazade have to say about the future events?
Ready?
So she pulls out Star first, and the Star, It's pretty easy to kind of guess, but hope and a renewal, and
Okay.
it's like a positive energy. Starlight, star bright, Estelle bright. Ooh, maybe there's a connection. So yeah, so that's the first card she pulls. But next to it, she pulls the Hanged Man, which is a bit pretty grim imagery. But the Hanged Man generally represents new perspective as well as sacrifice. Often the new perspective comes as a result of sacrifice, or you have to let go of something in order to see things in a different light and gain something down the line. There's some sort of
Okay.
loss to go with what you gain. It's not like quite as grim as it sounds, but it's also it's not lossless. There's a loss. There's a sacrifice. There's something you have to let go of.
So it's hopeful, but there's going to be a cost for the hope.
And it could be that it's a sacrifice for a greater good generally. It could be a sacrifice that will help you personally along the line. Like, there's a lot of ways to read it. That's part of the fun of doing it also for this game, is that there's a lot of ways you could, like, read, even in retrospect, what these cards might have been referring to. But they do make sense. It's just there's a lot of ways they can make sense. The next one is the Hermit, which kind of, it's like introspection, soul searching, solitude, kind of obviously. Interestingly, it can kind of tie to that perspective thing, because sometimes it can mean you need to have some introspection to gain perspective, or you need to spend some time alone to, like, whether it's, get a more clear perspective or a new perspective or whatever, like, they can kind of tie together. So I'm like, interesting that they both come up. And then we get the Magician. The Magician is like willpower. It's manifestation, right? He's a manifestation girly, turning potential into reality and results. It's seen as kind of marrying the physical realm and spiritual realm in terms of, like, making the match, right? Like, making the external world match your own internal desires. And that can be in a positive way or in a sinister way. You don't know. It could be, I have great ideas and goals to make the world a better place. I'm going to make it happen. Or it could be, I have a secret agenda and I'm going to inflict my will onto the world. And it tends to be associated with intelligence and logic, skill, that kind of thing. The stuff you need in order to become a magician, I guess. And then finally, we get the Wheel of Fortune. Inversion, I think, is what Schera says. Basically, she means it's reversed. Like, the obvious reading for that, right? Wheel of Fortune reversed, bad luck. That's kind of the, like, superficial way to read it. And it's not true. It's more interesting to think about Wheel of Fortune, really broadly speaking, has to do with change. And reversed, it means that you're going to struggle with that change. Now, it could mean that the changes are inherently, like, bad, or it could mean that you're going to resist change, even if it's good change or change that's necessary. There's a lot of ways to kind of interpret that. It could be that you need to make a change and you're resisting it. It could be that the changes are just happening so fast and they're overwhelming. It's change that's going to affect you, that's going to be a struggle for you, but there's a lot of ways that could be. And I don't want to try and, like, analyze what that could mean, because obviously we haven't even gotten to any of the potential meanings, but I think it's interesting that they start with these kind of ideas that most people, like, you're not really think too much about, but they do, they're interesting to keep in mind going through how they might apply. And Schera says it's a really hard reading and she can't be sure what it means. She says that outright, that she's not sure what it means. And we're not sure what question she had in her mind as she was, drawing the cards or whatever. We're not even sure what she was trying to find out, but it's just interesting. That's how we're introduced to Schera. And that's how we're introduced to their bracer career.
Yeah, interesting.
Schera says, anyway, forget about the cards. Test time.
Anyway, I've just been prophetic, but let's move right along.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested to circle back to this reading to see if it does come true. Do you, obviously without spoiling the future episodes of this podcast, do you have sort of a personal reading that you feel maps to the story of the game that we've got coming up?
Yes, some cards I feel more strongly like this is what it refers to. Others I'm like all of the above. Like, there are multiple readings and all of them seem true. I think, yeah, I mean, when we get to the end of the game, we can try to remember to circle back to this and, like, I can talk about what I think they mean, because I think you kind of get, by the end of this game, not by the end of Sky, by the end of this game, you kind of see where they were all going. But yeah, we can circle back to it. I do have thoughts about what it means. Multiple interpretations that all work, but some that I feel very strongly about.
I fully glossed over the actual cards that she mentioned. Maybe it's just because they're such recognizable phrases for me, being a big Persona head as well.
Yes.
But I didn't even stop to think that they might have actually gone through with the meaning. But it's very on brand for the Trails series to have deep dived into giving all of the information, considering we just talked about like a series-wide newspaper run that we've got ahead of ourselves as well. That's cool. But yeah, it's time to get ready to be a real, actual junior bracer.
Piece of cake.
And I feel like Estelle keeps kind of glossing over the junior bit. She's like, "I'm going to be a bracer, just like you." It's like, well, you've got to go through high school before you can graduate, my guy. But anyway,
Presumably she starts getting paid now, so that's,
that's true.
big step.
That's the big deal. No one's talking about it, but the unpaid internship has run its course. But yeah, it's
God.
time to do that. Estelle is again panicking that she's gonna have to do a written test.
I think she just can't sit still. I think she has really bad ADHD, like hyperactive ADHD. I think she can't sit in a desk. She even says, like, I need to be moving. I can't just sit still. Like, I think she just cannot sit at a desk all day. And I think nobody else around her wants her to have to sit at a desk all day because she will make it everyone else's problem.
Yeah, I guess it is also a juxtaposition of character between her and Joshua, because Estelle's very much outside activities. Like, all of her hobbies and everything are about being outside. She loves them bugs. You find those outside. You can run around outside. And she even makes a point of early in the prologue saying that all of Joshua's activities are indoor kid things. Like play harmonica and read book. Get adopted is his other one.
Indoor kid activities. I mean, I guess, the courthouse that you go to get officially adopted, that's indoors. He's got a much more still, like, patient, observant thing. He also knows all the things that Estelle forgets. Not that he knows everything, but, like, she's regularly, she forgets that there's a test today. He knows that. She forgets we're about to go into Orbments, but she forgets how Orbments work, even though presumably they've been studying it this whole time, and Joshua remembers it all. You gotta wonder, to a certain point, how much of this is just how they each inherently are, and how much is, like, the dynamic that they've cultivated over, like, the last 5 years of compensating for each other's weaknesses, kind of playing into it. Like, they very much seem to operate as a unit.
Absolutely, yeah. It really does feel like he's just, as someone with a lot of ADHD friends and loved ones, but I've just gotten into the habit of tracking things for everyone around me. So I always know where your phone is, where your keys are, because I spend so much of my time watching people I care about spinning in circles saying, where is X object?
Yeah,
It
relatable.
seems like Joshua's doing the same thing, just kind of like assisting Estelle with her life management. So he's like, yes, that's right, we are going to do it. It's not a written test, it's a thing test. We have to buy the newspaper, don't forget.
I could use a Joshua.
It's very brother energy. It's just like caring, not really older or younger brother, because they're essentially the same age. But it's just like, yes, I care about you so much as your brother, ... Because I think we're already starting to get little hints of that, like, Joshua, maybe he cares so much. And Estelle goes, ha ha ha, brother.
They both call Cassius dad, but they don't always refer to each other as brother, sister, I found. They might have, I think at one point, maybe Estelle says he's like my brother, but I don't think, they don't call each other brother, sister the way that they both call Cassius dad.
And for good reason, I think.
Yeah.
But it is weird to have taken the last name and be adopted, but still kind of be othered within the family. In, like, not in a cruel way, but it's definitely like you're in the family, but not also for reasons. Because of your black hair, probably.
Probably. And it's interesting because on one hand, like, Joshua being around 11 when he became part of the family, that does, just in terms of life experiences in childhood, that obviously means that there's stuff that, like, he lived, over a decade of his life with other people and other whatever, we don't know what, but other people. But also, I know that there are some differences in how adoption's thought of in Japan, and I don't know enough to say more about it, other than I've heard that there can still be, it's more common for there to be othering of adopted kids within a family, and that's seen as normal. I think there's a history in Japan of, like, people adopting, like, an heir because the family business needs an heir or something, as opposed to, and so it's treated more like, not a business transaction, but, like, there's a bit more, it can be more like a ward of the family as opposed to, like, a child the same as any other child. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know enough, and I don't want to, like, project generalizations onto a culture I don't know very well. But I do know that there can be some differences, just because I've heard about this from other people who know more, that there are some differences.
Yeah, I suppose that would make sense in a culture and a language that has so many layers of honorifics for different sort of applications.
Yeah.
That there would be that, not tiered, but
Could
like separate titles for separate situations. In any case, he's enough of a brother to remember all of her stuff for her. and
Exactly.
go do this test for her. And it's time to test.
Well, first, you got to go to the bulletin board to get the test. It's framed like this is your first bracer mission, so you're going to do the steps of it. So you got to go to the bulletin board and get a quest. Now, just as a note for like everyone playing going forward, the game's not always going to tell you when there's new stuff on the bulletin board, but there will still be new stuff on the bulletin board a lot. Matt is nodding very vigorously right now. Yeah, so just check the bulletin boards pretty regularly. They also say next to the quest the like duration of how long it's available to do. They'll say like they won't say exactly because they would have to spoil. They'd be like, you can do this until X joins your party. They're not going to put that. But short, medium, long, it's usually a good idea if you want to do all the quests to do them as soon as you see them. That said, you don't have to do all the quests. Lots of people don't. It's up to you. Yeah, check the bulletin boards regularly, like Josh want to still do right now.
This is a lesson I learnt the hard way, as evidenced by the fact that I just skipped over this step in describing how the game works. It's like a similar formula through a lot of the games, having sort of a get missions, go do missions thing, but I completely blanked on this. So if you don't check the board, the quests won't populate in the world. Some of the windows, because you have short missions and long missions, some of the short ones, the window to start them is real short. If you start the wrong conversation, you just miss the opportunity entirely. So I did miss a couple of early quests already. I usually like to play through these games trying to 100% everything in one go because they are so long and there's so much to do. But that's also one of those brainworms that are motivated by trophies and achievements, which I don't have to worry about in the GOG.com version of this game. So I did have a moment of FOMO where I thought, oh no, I don't know what I was going to do, restart the game? I missed quest early on and I was just like, no, it's fine. I don't need to find that person's cat or whatever it was.
Yes, I did that one and I'll tell you about it. I'll fill you in. Get rid of your FOMO.
I said that as just a random example and then immediately remembered that is a mission that is in this chapter.
Yeah.
If you want to go through it, anytime any story event happens, it's worth checking the board just in case, because as soon as they're registered, they'll be in your notes so you can sort of easily track them. It does sort of break down steps of what's next in the quest. So go here, do this thing. Here's the last update you had.
Oh yeah, and that reminds me, your notes. You do get your bracer notebook at the same time, I think. It'll be mapped to a different button depending where you're playing it, but it's useful to check it out. It also has lots of info on like status conditions and stuff. I love the bracer notebook. There's always like fun stuff in there.
It's got a full rundown. I don't know if it all drops in immediately or if it's as you learn stuff, but you'll eventually have things about statuses, battle, the different spell types that you can cast, along with sort of achievement tracking for how many missions you've undertaken, how much BP, bracer points, you've earned, which is a currency you get for completing main quests and side quests to sort of upgrade your bracer rank. And
get rewards!
And also how many chests you've opened, which is a very important thing to track in these games, because if you manage to open every chest in the entire game, you get an achievement. And there's a big number counting that there to make me, Matt, personally feel attacked when I get to the end of the game and it's, 221 out of 223.
It's so hard. You always miss one.
Every time.
But we might have more to say about chests in a minute. We get our quest, we have to go into the sewers. But first, we have to go to the Orbment store so that Estelle can learn combat again, even though she's apparently been studying Orbments this whole time. But she's going to get a crash course in it. And this is the point where I'm going to come and give a mini tutorial.
Yes.
Skip forward a bit if you really don't want to listen to this. I'm going to try and be pretty brief, only talk about the stuff that is relevant here. There's some stuff that I really didn't get the first time I was playing, and I've tried to simplify a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate this because this early Trails Orbment system is complex in a different way to the one I experienced in Cold Steel, so I need this tutorial as much as anybody else.
All right, this is actually just for Matt. Everyone else, you're just here for moral support. So first of all, just for clarity, in terms of terminology, when we're talking about orbments on the pod, we're talking about these little pocket watch looking things that are how you shoot fireballs. Sometimes in the game, you'll hear people say orbment and they're talking about appliances. Think of this the way people use the word electronics, right? Sometimes they're talking about your smartphones. Sometimes they're talking about lamps and coffee makers. It's the same idea that it's an umbrella term for things that have the same energy source. But just so you know, because the first time somebody was talking about my orbments aren't working and they meant their lamp, I was so fucking confused. So orbment, they look like little pocket watch things. They have a tab in the menu, and they're pretty important. The second thing I'm going to flag right off the bat is if you really do not want to actually learn the nitty-gritty, you're overwhelmed by all these systems, all these mechanics, there's so much shit, you're just playing for the story, we are going to have in the show notes a link to a guide that some lovely person online made where they just like suggest possible quartz builds that you can put in your orbments for basically every time you might want to change them up in the game. Now, if you're like me and you're a sicko for doing all these builds and orbments and weird customization, totally ignore this. There's also no like one optimal build that you're trying to do. Customization is a big part of the fun. But if that's something that you're finding stressful, feel free to just use those and live your best life. There's no right or wrong way. We're not here to gatekeep. We're here to do the opposite. In terms of actually explaining, or as my notes say, for fellow sickos, orbments are how you build your characters, essentially. Now, in this game, they all have 6 slots, which at the beginning, most of them are going to be locked. And throughout the game, you get to unlock them. And we'll get into that. Into those slots, you put these things called quartz. Quartz are materia, but they're not materia. There's 2 purposes.
Basically, color-coded magic rocks.
Color-coded magic rocks. Now, there's 2 purposes they can have. The first is they usually have a direct effect. You know, usually that's like a stat boosting thing, right? The attack quartz will boost your attack. The defense quartz will boost your defense. They all have an elemental affinity, which you can tell by their color. But then the place where it gets more complicated is they also have specific elemental values. I'm going to call them elemental points here, just to like make it clear what I'm talking about. This isn't just game term. It's just they all have a number of points, and that's not necessarily just going to be whatever element is their color, right? You might have a water quartz that also has like 1 point of fire. It's going to change for each one. Basically, when you have enough of the right elemental points, you can cast spells.
Yep.
Spells are called arts. There's a pun in there that we'll get to at some point, I'm sure. Basically, depending on having the right combination of elemental points, you're going to be able to cast different spells. And your Bracer Notebook is where you can see what you need in order to be able to do different spells. It's under the magic section. It's going to be confusing because you're going to see a part that says like orbments or quartz and think it's that, and then it's not. Even I've played this game multiple times and I still keep going to the wrong tab all the time. You also might just want to pull up on your phone, what do I need to put together? Because otherwise you're going to be flipping from your Bracer Notebook over to your orbments a lot, which can be a bit confusing. The UI will get better, I promise. Now, this isn't going to come up really until later in the game, but it's worth flagging just to be accurate. The slots, they're going to say something about it. The slots are on 2 different lines. You're going to be like, what the hell? If you look at the Orbment tab, you can see all these little slots connected in your little pocket watch thing.
Yeah, and they've sort of got grooves going from one to one in like a line.
Yeah. For the elemental points of each quartz to like add up together, they have to be in lines that are connected. Now, this isn't really going to come up at first because you only have like 2 slots open anyway. But as you go along, if you're ever like, wait, why isn't the spell available when I have the right quartz? It's probably just about which slots they're in. Now, the other thing to note is that casting arts takes EP or energy points. And in order to have a higher maximum EP, you don't level up, you unlock more slots. So if a character uses magic a lot and you want them to be good at using magic, they're probably a good priority for unlocking slots. But that's how they're going to have more juice, more junk in the trunk. No, more energy points, EP.
Yeah, and it's definitely a slow process to unlock these slots as well.
Oh, yeah.
You pay to unlock the slot using Sepith.
Mm-hmm.
If quartz are condensed magic rock, then Sepith is unprocessed magic gravel. Every time you win a battle, you'll get Sepith in the different colors matching the quartz colors, and you can spend that quartz at the Orbital Factory to either smush it all together to make a new quartz, or you can spend it to unlock your slots. But they are pretty expensive, so you're not going to be able to get them extremely quickly. They do walk you through the process of unlocking a slot in this moment, but unless you're sort of pre-planning, that's probably going to be the only one you can unlock in this moment. I think it is possible to get a slot for each of them if you choose the right combination, but it's not going to be, oh, cool, in 20 minutes I'm going to have my entire Magic Pocket Watch up and running, min-maxing.
Yeah, no.
It's pretty limited to begin with, but it also makes it feel really earned when you get to the moment where you're like, oh, hell yeah, I've got enough of all the different kinds of Sepith at the same time to get a new slot, which means I'm going to be able to cast more spells. I'm going to be able to stack my quartz in a different way to get new spells. as well as new abilities. Because on top of all the magic and the stat boosts, there are other ones that give you extra skills, like the information quartz, which is a godsend because it shows you enemy stats, or there's Eagle Eye, which shows chests on the map, I believe.
There's Eagle Eye and another one. One shows chests and others shows where enemies are on the minimap. And I can't remember. I think Eagle Eye shows chests, but I might be mistaken. But read the description. But yeah, those are super useful. And they also usually have a few different types of element in their elemental points if they're like a special type. So that's always fun too. Worth noting in terms of Sepith or Sepith, that's something monsters drop. And how much a monster drops depends on the type of monster. But time is the rarest. So don't waste your time, Sepith.
Hey.
You can also trade Sepith for money, which is why this matters. It's generally recommended to not do more of that than you have to. And never trade the black one for money, because that's pretty rare.
And they trick you because the time Sepith is one of the ones that cashes in for more money, more mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It's a balancing act, especially this early in the game. You're not going to have much money. You're not going to have much Sepith. So you really have to budget for what you want. And they do a pretty good job of kind of outlining that to you in this moment, saying, here's the different things you can do. Now, despite the fact that you've been learning to be a bracer for assumably 5 years, you finally know how pocket watches go.
Okay, a couple more points. I'm going to try and be quick so that I don't bore everyone here to tears. Sometimes a character has a slot that's only one element. It means you only need Sepith of that element to unlock it, but it also means they can only use a quartz of that color. So don't get confused if why suddenly I can only put a black one here. That's why. Really big picture ideas. Every kind of art changes the system in some ways, so there's always like a different approach you want to take to it. But in these games, arts are really powerful, especially early on when you don't have that many options. Definitely recommend using arts. In all games, though, speed is, like, the most important stat. Speed is king.
Yep.
Some games it's more important than others, but it's always a good rule of thumb if you have no idea what to do. Something that boosts your speed or boosts your spellcasting speed is always useful. Other than that, play around with stuff and have fun. That's a big part of the game. You can customize pretty extensively. Have a blast with it.
Yeah, I sort of set up Estelle with make fast quartz as quickly as I could because she can't move that far in combat compared to Joshua. So it's good to be able to get her like zipping around because she can smack things with a big stick from a distance.
Yeah.
I made Joshua my healer type with a water quartz.
And I did the opposite as a great illustration of how customizable it is. I gave speed quartz to Joshua, and I made Estelle my magic user.
Interesting. I was trying to sort of like compensate to keep him roughly on the same level, but yeah, I can understand wanting Josh to... There I go again, Josh. Joshy B running around the battlefield with his twin dagger blade things.
Yeah. He has a black slot first, time only, so I put a time one in there. It's a good time. Anyway, that'll be it for the first Lux tutorial session, so I hope I didn't bore you all to tears.
This ought to perk you up.
So now that we know how orbments work, it's time to go in the sewer.
And Estelle thanks the goddess for sewers. Like she says, thank you, Adios, your divine providence, making sewers, something like that. She's that excited about this test not being written that she thanks God for sewers.
Yeah, and this is about the point where I realized that Estelle is just a real goober.
She's such a goober.
She loves her life. She's excited about who knows what, and apparently sewers is one of them. To be fair, once you do climb down into the sewer, it's a very funkily decorated sewer.
It is.
Like, there's some nice tile work on the walls.
Schera says right before you go in the sewers, she goes, don't worry, these sewers are really straightforward and you can't get lost in them. That's foreshadowing, because there sure as hell will be sewers later in Trails that you can get so lost in. I had to flag that one because, oh my fucking god. Sewers are a staple of Trails, and these are our first ones, and they're pretty chill.
Yeah, one thing that did throw me initially was, up to this point, running around in the world, you can fully pivot the camera. It's sort of an isometric overview for the game. So you can spin the world, like all the houses and everything are rendered in 3D, which, thinking back to when this game was originally released, that's a pretty powerful thing to be doing on a PSP. In this dungeon and a lot of locations leading up, they lock the camera on me, which I personally railed against. I'd so naturally gotten used to swinging the camera around, and I was just like, oh, I can't do it. But it does mean that they're going to do things like use that to hide chests, hide enemies from you in the way they lay out the corridors. But this one is very straightforward. You get to see an Orbment station, which is yet another use of the word Orbment, which is basically a healing spot. You can just go there and...
It's a charging port, really. It's for your phone. You charge your phone there, and that gives you healed power.
Pocket watch.
Yeah, sorry, there's still pocket watches.
It's a pocket watch winding station, but lets you recharge your health and EP so you can keep not dying and casting magic. You run through, we get introduced to a couple of different enemy types to sort of explain more about the combat system. So on top of arts, which are your magic generated by your Orbment, you also have crafts. Arts and crafts. Tis. Nobody makes a joke about this in the moment, which I feel is such a wasted opportunity.
Arts and crafts, bitch.
So crafts are your innate skills. To start with, you only have a couple each. I found it really odd, honestly, that when you start the game, Estelle doesn't have an offensive craft. She's the protagonist of the game.
She doesn't, it's strange.
She has morale. Which...
She yells, and everyone gets stronger.
She's like, you can do it! And then everyone punch good.
It's actually really cute how she's like, you can do it!
Yeah, it has a cute little voice line. So it's mostly just her screaming at her brother, be better.
Pretty much. This is part of why arts are really useful in this game, especially early on, because it takes a while for you to get more crafts. You get those as you level up, to be clear. You don't have to... Occasionally, you can get like a super one by doing some side thing or a plot beat, but usually... And that's not necessarily just for this game. That's like just in general. Sometimes, if you go talk to the weapons store owner, they'll be like, here's a better gun, and you have another super move. But usually it's just by leveling up.
So Joshua has the offensive craft at this stage, dual cut.
Dual strike or dual cut, something like that.
So he's got 2 blades, he can cut 2 times. It's honestly pretty hard hitting this early on in the game, especially when you pair it with his sister telling him to be better.
Yeah.
So we go through, you get to encounter different enemy types. We meet a regular squishy boy that you can just hit with the physical attacks. We learn about horrible goopy monsters, which is kind of the series standard for magic types. I have to say, a lot of these magic type enemies, I don't like the look of them at all.
They're weird. They're often weird. They're like gelatinous. I think there is one called like gelatinous shell. These are the guys you want to use magic against. As well as sometimes really evasive guys. Magic is more accurate. But yeah, they're kind of freaky looking.
I don't like them. It's a lot of jelly, goopy, the kind of things that sway. It's not for me. But you can knock them out in one hit with magic, which is great. I also found this was the point where I realized just how little magic juice you have this early in the game. All of your spells cost 10 EP, but Estelle, to begin with, only has about 50 EP, so 5 spells and you're done.
Yeah, go unlock them slots.
Gotta unlock them slots. But it does sort of teach you to budget. Like, it's a great one-hit kill, and it works on most enemies at this point, but use too much and you're going to be left wanting because it's a long run back to that clock winding station, the Orbment station. This game also does something interesting with enemies, which is that they only fade into existence when you're very, very, very close to them. Partially a rendering thing on the PSP originally, I'm sure. But if you're just barreling through, you're not going to be able to dodge enemies because they see you when you come into range, and a lot of them will charge straight at you. It's that sort of overworld map monster situation, which kind of caught me unawares a bunch early in the game. I'm not used to that.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Some of them will really charge at you, and you really have no choice but to get got.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you're facing them when they charge at you, because if they hit you from the back, they get advantage. If you hit them from the back, you get advantage, but you can't, like, hit with your weapon on the overworld yet. That'll come in, I think, the crossbow game. So for now, you just kind of have to try and, like, run at them when their back is turned to you. Hope that it works.
Yeah.
It's not, like, crucial, but it gives you a few turns before the enemy can move, which is always nice. Since turn order is the whole name of the game.
And while it's very hard to avoid getting into combat, luckily the game is really forgiving about running away. I've never run away from combat so much in an RPG in my life. This game...
Oh my god, yeah. Early game, yeah.
Hits hard, hits early. I got wiped a bunch because I'm used to the later games in the Trails series where let's be real, the edges have been sanded off a lot over 20 years.
Yeah, they get easier.
It does quickly remind you, oh no, you're in an old RPG. You have to try.
But the nice thing, though, is when you die in a battle, it immediately gives you a retry this battle option. You don't have to go to your last save or anything.
That is a godsend because it's so easy to run away. If you get absolutely wiped in a fight, you can just say retry and skedaddle immediately. Move on with your life as though you never embarrassingly died to a jelly shit monster from the sewers.
In the tutorial.
To name a random example. In any case, we continue running through. We learn a bit more about combat's options. We've got attacks, we've got arts, we've got crafts, we've got S-crafts.
That's your super move.
Super duper special move.
It's your limit break.
It's your limit break. There's a lot of analogies across RPG series. It's almost like they're all working in the same genre. S-crafts, basically your crafts are powered by craft points, CP, which is a gauge from 0 to 100. You build it up by hitting and getting hit. So if you strike an enemy, you'll get a few CP. If you get hit by an enemy, you also get rewarded for that, which is great. Once you have 100 CP, you can use your S-craft, is it special craft or super craft?
You know, I have no fucking idea. I think it's probably special, but I don't know. Like,
the term S-craft is used so heavily.
yeah.
Your S-craft is usable at 100 CP, but if you keep charging up to 200 CP, you'll get like a super duper powerful version of it.
It's not like an upgraded like animation or anything. It's just going to be way stronger.
It just hits harder, yeah. It's a real risk reward thing. Like, do I burn my S-craft right now, or do I save it to like really, really, really pack a punch? But the thing to remember as well in these games, which I always personally forget, is that gauge builds really quick because you're in fights all the time. You're always hitting and getting hit. So if you burn your S-craft now or use a big high-cost craft right now, it's not the end of the world. Like, you're going to be able to hit again really soon. Pretty soon you'll be at a stage where you can S-craft multiple times in the right fight if it's a boss fight or something. So it's not a save it till you need it. It's a use it or lose it thing, really.
Yeah.
Interestingly, at this point, the S-crafts only hit a single enemy, so it's still a strategy thing. It's not a sort of like blast the field clean move.
It's not an instant win button, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still a strategy thing. It's just not a thing you should save forever. Because it's a cool little animation, like, even for this basic level of graphics, they put a lot of love into making those animations cool and dynamic. There's, like, custom sprites for like this wicked animation. They'll bounce around, they'll have voice lines.
Yeah, it's great.
It's fun every time.
Yeah, it's awesome. We love an S-craft. Also promise that we're not going to spend this much time going over tutorial mechanics in every single episode. We wanted to cover stuff at the beginning so that we'd covered it. I mean, as things come up, obviously we will, but just so you know, we're not going to spend the entire series of podcast episodes explaining in detail how to fight every time you fight.
Yeah, we just wanted to be very true to the trail spirit and like front load the show with a lot of stuff that you've got to remember for the rest of the run.
Yeah.
Once you get all this stuff out of the way, it's an RPG. Like, it's always going to be like front heavy with tutorials. Once you've learned all this basic stuff, it's just kind of golden.
And you pick up on it quickly by doing it. It probably sounds a lot scarier. If you're listening to this and you haven't played any of it yet, it's going to sound way like with any game, right? Hearing it explained is usually more confusing than actually doing it for yourself. And on that note, we get to the end of the sewers and find a chest.
It's just a big shiny chest that has some monsters hanging out in front of it, which obviously means it's important. And you crack open the chest and what do we find?
Some boxes.
Some boxes, which Estelle, the hyperactive child, immediately wants to crack open and have a look inside.
And Joshua's like, that might be part of the test, you know? They might be testing if we're going to look at this stuff or if we're going to do our jobs. And Estelle's like, no way.
If you were really being a courier and you picked up the parcel that you got to deliver to someone, do you really think they want you looking inside it? Like, when your Uber Eats driver collects your food, do you want to find a few chippies missing when it gets to your house? No. Like, be a professional, Estelle. You're a grown woman of 16.
Estelle begrudgingly relents, but clearly thinks he's full of shit.
Yeah.
Also, if you happen to click on the chest twice, it might say something, but I'm going to let you discover that for yourself. But that's something you might want to do with chests.
Yes.
Check them twice.
sadly, this doesn't exist in every Trails game in perpetuity, but for the Sky series, chest messages, they are delightful. Every time you crack open a chest, check it again. You know, some RPGs you might just get a message saying the chest is empty or whatever, but Trails goes a little bit deeper, and there's actually a specific reason for that. Lex, would you like to elucidate us?
So if you play in Japanese, the chest will just say the chest is empty. However, when it was being localized, the localizers noticed that every message saying the chest is empty was like programmed separately rather than just showing the same message. They were all separately written, separate entries, and they decided, what if we wrote something separate for every single one? Now, apparently there was also a promotional thing, like there was an idea to like put a code in so that players could like, I don't know, put it online, maybe win a raffle. I don't know if they ever actually did that, but that was an idea they had. But instead they have some good comments, some good chuckles, but it's quite funny, and it's really interesting for those of us who've played in English to discover that wasn't in the Japanese games. That was just a delightful thing the localizers added, because they didn't have enough work to do. It's not as though this was a massive undertaking already without adding more work for themselves, but no, they took on even more work, and we all benefit. So thank you, localizers, for chest messages.
It's so delightful. I forgot at first about chest messages because, again, I came into the series Trails of Cold Steel?
Of Cold Steel.
I get so lost because we go so many different ways. Trails of Cold Steel. This is why I just say Cold Steel. I played the Cold Steel games, and they don't have chest messages, unfortunately. So I didn't know how long-standing this tradition was. So when I remembered 3 chests into the game or something, oh yeah, there's chest messages. It's so exciting. And a lot of these early ones are just rips on the same kind of theme. It's like, oh, checking the chest again, greedy. I was like, there's still nothing in there, stupid.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But as the game and the series go on, they do get more like characterful, some like meta references to the series itself.
They can get pretty good.
Even references to other like Falcom games or other RPGs. So I think if we find any really cool ones, we might highlight them as we go along. But for the most part, they're just it's a fun bit of flavor. So make sure to double tap that chest every time you find a goodie, because you'll get a second goodie of the writing variety. This chest already had 2 goodies of the don't open it box variety, which we climb back through the sewers. Also, sewers mysteriously absent of any kind of sewer function.
There's nothing dirty. There's no water. There's no, there's nothing but monsters and surprisingly clean tiles.
We get back from the pristine sewers to the Bracers Guild.
Yep.
Schera says, congratulations, good job on going through the sewers. Yeah, I totally put that there.
And good job on not opening the box.
Yes, we do get called out for not opening the client's package, which isn't something you should be rewarded for or need to be highlighted, but we are working with Estelle Bright here, so the fact that she
This
didn't
was a trick.
The fact that she didn't have an intrusive thought and, like, spike it at the ground directly in front of Schera is probably a good sign. I just feel like that's kind of the energy I'm getting from Estelle. It's like, first thought, best thought, always.
I think what I love about Estelle, too, is I've come to the theory that I wonder how much of her shit she also deliberately does to egg on Joshua. I think there's a line that we don't know and she might not know of when she really is that impulsive or that empty-headed and when she's deliberately like messing with Joshua. And I don't think there's a clear answer. I don't think she knows, but I think it is fun to keep in mind that like I think they both play up their roles in the dynamic, and I think it's quite funny on purpose.
I love it. Like the brother-sister kind of energy is definitely there straight off. Joshua's always going to support her and back her up, but at the same time, he's going to be like, don't forget, Estelle, we have to go to your hair appointment at 3 p.m. today.
He's also going to roast her.
You don't remember it because you're my dumb bitch sister. I love you so much. It's great. And speaking of 3 p.m., that's the exact time of day that we get confirmed as real junior braces because we crack open our mystery boxes ourselves. At this point, Estelle needs to be double confirmed that it's okay to do because she's suddenly understood basic human etiquette in the moment, I guess. But they crack it open and it's their junior bracer badges. Hurrah! Because you don't have a job unless you have a blazer pin saying what it is.
Exactly. And it's exciting stuff. Look at us now, world. We did it, Estelle shouts, because Josh was not excited enough, so she has to compensate.
We did it. We're officially real, genuine junior bracers class 9. Because you don't just start off as a full junior bracer. You've got to work from class 9 up to class 1.
Yes. Which is where the bracer points will come in. We explained a little bit earlier. But we also get some fun little dialogue where Schera has clearly spent a lot of time tutoring Joshua and Estelle instead of doing her job. And Estelle, actually, it's a nice moment where Estelle takes a moment to, like, thank Schera. Be like, thanks for taking all this time to train us. Like, I know this took a lot of time out of your schedule. I really appreciate it. And Schera's like, of course, we're, like, this part of the job is training younger bracers, too. But I do need to go off and do more work. There's also an exchange that I think Schera says that Cassius trained her. And Estelle says something after that to Joshua along the lines of, I guess that's probably why Schera respects Dad so much, because he trained her, but, you know, really, he's just some lame middle-aged man. Like, she says specifically a sentence like, he's just some lame middle-aged man. Like, she really does not think anything of her dad. And everyone around her is just kind of like, does she know? What? She doesn't know? We don't know yet, but everyone's like, he's a bigger deal than you seem to think. And she's like, yeah, he's just lame and washed up. And I think it's because he drinks all the time at the house. She probably has a reason. She's like, he's just some wine dad.
Yeah, he's just my dumb drunk dad.
Exactly.
And everyone else is sort of saying, hey, there's a reason he needs to drink so much to cope.
We also get our first title of the series.
Cool title alert.
Estelle tells us that Schera is known as the Silver Streak.
The Silver Streak, which I felt reads like a bit of a slur. It sounds insulting. I don't know why.
I think she's supposed to be, like, fast. You know, it's a streak of silver is all you're going to see type of thing. But to me, it just sounds like she's a streaker.
I think it's the way that they use it in conversation. It's like, good job, Silver Streak. Yeah,
it's weird.
It's not the Silver Streak, so it's just like, good job, Silver Streak. Or like, I don't think anyone just calls her Streak, but...
Because it's also the first title, like, a lot of people have, like, proper noun titles in these games.
Yeah.
But because she's the first one, I think by, you know, later games, you're used to people just being like, good job, Divine Blade, or something, and it just sounds natural because everyone's constantly being referred to by their titles. But because she's the first one, you're like, that's weird that they're just calling her Silver Streak to her face. They're not saying, like, now I see why they call you the Silver Streak. They're like, well done, Silver Streak. It's kind of funny. But I do think part of it is early installment weirdness.
Yeah, they're still kind of setting the tone to an extent. Also interesting that we get Schera's title first, even though everyone's talking out Dad Bright as though he's all that and a bag of chips. Haven't heard any title for him. Does he have one? Does he not? Is he Cassius Wine Dad Bright?
Time will tell. But Estelle doesn't know yet, so neither do we.
Yeah, she's really not invested in her dad's work life. She doesn't even know what his job title is. But she's going to have to learn now because they're co-workers.
They're co-workers, my God. So then, anyway, Estelle is just high on life, going outside. She's mad that Joshua does not seem excited. He's like, wow, I'm really a bracer, like, kind of contemplative. And she's like, you should be running around screaming at the top of your lungs. She's very, very unimpressed. So she's decided to take on all of his lack of excitement as a challenge to herself. And they leave the Bracer Guild, and she's high on life. And then Estelle proceeds to beef with a little kid immediately.
I'm a professional now. I have a real job. I'm going to take care of people. I'm a shining scion of the community. And then some kid walks up and says, hey, Estelle, you in particular personally suck.
And it's kind of like, on the one hand, he's this little kid is absolutely like being a little shit for no reason. But Estelle also does reply as though she's the same age as him and not like supposedly the adult in the situation. What's interesting though is he's really mad that she's a bracer before him because she's a girl. Joshua, he even says something like it's one thing for Joshua to be a bracer before me, but Estelle, a girl like Estelle, which like one, child, you're like 2 years old. Like, of course you're not going to have a job before her. But second, your God is a woman. Why are we... I have it in my notes written, why so sexist when God is a woman? Like, when God is a woman... No,
Yes.
they don't
You will
care.
believe God is a woman because she is.
Adios. They've named her up to her a few times now. Adios is a woman. But And it's not even like a, oh, women are good at this and men are good at that, like, binary duality crap. Like, that's obviously bad. It's not even like something like that might make more sense for, like, if you're like, the goddess is a woman and these are the things she's associated with. But it's just like, girls aren't as good as boys, but God's a woman. There's a dissonance there.
It's a very complex world. God is a woman. Women are younger than men. Always, somehow. Which is
Always.
why Estelle, a grown woman of 16, can't be older than this Luke kid who's 4 or something, beefing with everyone. It's interesting, and this is just the only other children even remotely their age that they seem to have to hang out with.
There are some other kids. We see some other people who are young enough that you're like maybe they're the same age, but maybe they're 20. Like, it's not clear because a lot of them, a lot of these NPCs are like, they have a parent who's working. So that means that they're at an age where their parent is not 90. But, like, that's all you really know. Like, they're an adult with a job and their parents are adults with a job. And that's the only reference you have for their age. But other than that, you can't really tell. I think there's a girl I found in the bar. And she's in the bar, but she seemed to have been at the same age as them. So maybe she's their age, or maybe she's older because she's in the bar. Well, I guess the bar is more of a restaurant.
It's hard to tell with kind of the blobby sprite people exactly how old they are.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of these people aren't important enough to have portrait art.
Yeah.
You can only sort of get it from context. And
Including the kids she's beefing with.
a constant thorn in her side her entire life, just not worthy of face art.
He has a friend with him who's nice to Estelle, but he's not happy with Estelle, and he runs off to his secret base. That's what he says. He's like, I'm off to my secret base.
The secretest base is the base that you call your secret base out loud in front of people that you don't like.
And it's like, Estelle, you're beefing with a kid who's in all serious earnestness saying my secret base. Honey, it's okay. Just let it go. She then says something like, does that kid just hate me? And Josh was like, I think it's the opposite. And it's very weird. Josh was like, I think he has a crush on you, but Estelle doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And then Joshua
Estelle's like,
goes,
huh?
It's a boy thing. Quote. It's a boy thing. I don't know. Maybe this is referencing the idea like, oh, if a boy teases you, it's because he's a crush on you. Or maybe Joshua was just saying crushes are a boy thing, which is, I think, is kind of funnier. That he's like, girls don't have feelings and boys have all these emotions, which is kind of funny.
God is a woman. Women are younger than men. Only men have romantic feelings. That's the world of Zemuria.
Pretty much. So, then Joshua reminds us we have to go buy the newspaper for Dad.
Yeah, stop beefing with this boy child and hang out with your boy teen brother friend.
Go buy a newspaper like an adult. We have a job now.
Go buy a newspaper for your adult boy dad.
Yes. We get the newspaper. We also get a cookie, which is great. Estelle says, I have a personal rule to never turn down sweets. Girl after my own heart. You get a recipe book.
In this world, if you own a recipe book and you eat a food, you will instantly know the recipe to make that food, which I would love this ability, honestly.
Right? It's amazing. So we get the recipe book, we get the newspaper, we get a cookie. I eat the cookie right away so that I know how to make cookies in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's time to go home, but I decided that instead I'm just going to run around town for a little bit. So I don't know what you did at this point, but I wrote down a list of what I did, because at this point you might not do all these things because you don't have any need to. So I went off to a bar. It's called Orbment Bar. It's like a restaurant bar pub. And I found another recipe. It's called Wholesome Pasta.
Yep.
And I decided I wanted some wholesome pasta. I went to the house next to the bar, and a guy gave me a book. This is one of those collectible books.
I got this book on my PSP playthrough. I fully forgot to get it when I switched to PC, so I will never know how this story starts. Oh, no, wait, I can probably go back and get it later.
You might be able to go back and get it later. I don't know how limited the time is, but I'm sure it's not just... Some things are really limited in time, but this one, I think I got it earlier than you're supposed to. I don't know if you've passed the point it is now, but you can definitely get it at some point.
I'll find
and
out.
then one thing that's nice, though, is in other games, they'll often just, like, give you access to the whole collection of books from the previous game, so you can read through them there if you want. And the internet has everything anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
The internet has everything, just as a statement. I also went over to the church to see what was up there. The priest is called Father Divine.
I love that.
Which is the greatest name for a priest ever. Just so good.
I didn't wander around as much at this point in the game, but a little later on when I did run into Father Divine, I was like, yes, get it. Drag queen name,
Slay.
100%. You know, he whips off that priest robe and he's got a full sparkly nun habit underneath.
Yes. I love that. I also just, the obvious pun of, like, it's a church. Divine. Church. Like, you've got that. He's clearly a drag queen because Divine is, a queen.
Yeah.
I love that priests in Zemuria are all drag queens. That's canon now.
Yep.
And he told me to gird my loins. And then
No.
called me he said, I will pray for you, unseasoned youth. It's time to gird your loins. Which is such a bad sentence. But it's kind of amazing at how bad that is.
Don't talk about her like she's an undercooked chicken. Okay, Father Divine is nasty. You don't get to talk like that unless you have done the reveal and you're in drag, because otherwise it's just a predatory man. I don't like that for Father Divine, but I will hold out hope because we all learn and grow and incorporate that into our art.
So after Father Divine takes us to church, I then went over and talked to a bunch of people. There was someone trying to propose in an alley, and the girl kept saying no because she didn't want her proposal story to take place in an alley. But she didn't communicate that to him. So the guy was just like, I don't know. I've proposed to her 11 times now, and she keeps not accepting my confession. And she's just like, I can't be proposed to in an alley. So I don't know if they're ever going to resolve this. I don't know if this is ever going to be resolved, but that I ran into them, and I wish them good luck.
I love that. Also the idea of just like they're having this argument in an alley, and then a 16-year-old girl runs up to her and she turns to the right in front of the man who's trying to propose to her and says, I can't believe this dude's trying to propose to me in an alley. Gross. Anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah. And then I ran over to the landing port. And some really gross interaction with the guy who's, I was going to call him the receptionist. That's not the right term, but he's at the booth. He said that Schera is exotic and chocolate-skinned. And I feel like this is a good point to point out that the game can be kind of weird about Schera. Schera is definitely coded like a Roma woman in terms of the way she's dressed, drawn, the whole tarot cards thing. And she definitely has a darker skin tone than the other characters we've seen so far. Definitely looks darker. There is a reference at some point in the prologue, I don't remember if it was here before, that she is originally from another country, but we don't really know where or what. Just, there is a weird exoticization that sometimes happens of Schera, and it's unfortunate. And I don't have that much to say on it right now, because this hasn't even happened in like the main story yet. This is just a weird NPC interaction, but I was just going to point that out, because it felt weird to just not mention that. It is a thing that I see with her, and it's not cool. It's not constant in your face every time she's on screen, but it is regular enough that it's worth pointing out, saying, do better.
And they do eventually.
They do.
That we will forecast for the future of the series. This stuff does improve. Yeah. It's all the usual stuff. It's a product of its time. It's a product of its country of origin. It's a product of its culture of origin. Yeah. It's a bit icky, but it's kind of off to the side for the most part.
Anyway, the last thing I did in my running around town phase is I decided to read the newspaper. I am going to be impressive and read it before my dad. So it basically just mentions that the Queen's 60th birthday is coming up. They're saying the festivities for the celebration is being planned and it's going to be a huge deal, and presumably that's never ever going to come up again. But I read the newspaper, so now I can feel like a cultured adult. And then I finally decided to stop running around town and go home to bring it to my dad.
Yep.
What did you do during this time? Did you run around at all?
I ran around a little bit. I did get some wholesome pasta, so I used my mouth memorization technique to also absorb the recipe for that.
Good.
I didn't run around and talk to everyone. I need to get into the habit of that. I missed this thing about the proposal in the alley, and that's fantastic.
There's so many good tidbits.
I did check in with a bunch of people. I went to the church. I tried to go up the clock tower because it had a door at the back of it.
Yeah.
I went into the bar and chatted to a couple people. I bothered the people at the Orbital factory some more. Yeah, I think I stocked up on items for the first time, because even in that tutorial dungeon, I was sort of harshly reminded, you're gonna need healing items. Because I'm very much a player who stockpiles them and never uses them. I think the EP heal items is maybe my least used item in the entire series, because I never really lean that hard into arts in these games, typically. Because it is sort of it's a casting delay thing, and when you're talking turn order,
it takes time.
My brain just wants hit now, hit now, hit now.
Mm-hmm.
The arts I naturally leaned away previously, I'm sort of adjusting for that now. I was like, oh, I'm going to need healing items, and I'm going to need revives, because people are actually going to drop this time around. I think it did happen once. One of the magic enemies caught me off guard in the sewers, and fully downed Estelle in the prologue tutorial dungeon, which didn't make me feel like a elite gamer by any stretch. I think it was
you live, you learn.
You live and learn, just like
You were
Sonic the
role-playing
Hedgehog.
Estelle accurately. She, too, just, rushes in and sometimes doesn't think. You were just role-playing.
Yeah, only fools and Estelle Bright rush in. Mm-hmm. I did a little bit of run around, grabbed the newspaper. I haven't read it yet. I'm not as cultured, unfortunately. It was also time for me to head home to Papa.
So we go to leave Rolent, our town. I don't know if we've said the name in this episode yet. We go to leave Rolent, and suddenly Ina, the receptionist lady, runs out and tells us that the little kids we were beefing with have apparently run off to a tower, Esmelas Tower, which is a dangerous place with monsters. Apparently, I guess that's the secret base, which is not a great secret base to have if you're in danger and not able to fight just by being there. Ina, I think, says something like, tell her dad, because Schera's off doing other work. She's not there. And Estelle's like, no, we should go right away. There isn't time. And Ina's like, I'm not sure. And Joshua's like, actually, for once, I agree with Estelle about rushing in because we don't have time. Ina, why don't you, the not combat trained civilian, go to our dad and get his help for backup while the two of us rush ahead to try and keep the children being eaten from monsters.
In their defense, monsters don't spawn in the map between Rolent and your house. So they knew Ina would be safe.
No, that's fine. It was the right idea, I think.
Yeah.
Logically speaking.
Joshua just says, yeah, my stupid ass broken clock sister is right twice a day, and this is one of those times. Let's go save some kids in what I put down in my notes as Kid Trouble Tower.
But first, I decided I know this kid's in danger, but I want to go schmooze with the mayor. So I ran off to the mayor's house, found him, and his name was Klaus. And he didn't really have anything to say. I was kind of bummed. So I went and did my job.
He's kind of a handsome mayor, though, I will say.
He is. He's got a portrait.
He's an important person, so he's got portrait art. It's just nice, like, curly mop of silver hair.
Distinguished.
Congratulations.
He's got a wife and a maid, too.
As all successful men do.
As all successful men do. But yeah, he didn't really have anything to say. I don't think he had heard about the children in danger because he didn't yell at Estelle for talking to him instead of going. I just had to go and do some networking first. And then I went off towards the tower.
For me, I got the news that we urgently needed to run to the tower, and then I said, absolutely, bet, let's do it, and then turned around and went into the weapon store so that I could upgrade my weapons.
That was probably a smart move because I had a hard time. I also was like, I should grind a bit while I'm on my way to on this trail to go to the tower, and I did get bodied, so I did wish I had upgraded my equipment a little bit.
I got knocked around on that journey as well. Even with the weapons, I think I did some very tight money management just to be able to get at least one piece of new equipment for each of them. I got a new hit stick for Estelle because she doesn't hit quite as hard as Joshua does. And then some armor for Joshua because he got dropped at one point as well. Then it was time to run off to the tower, get absolutely wrecked by the bugs and stuff on the Malga Trail on the way to Esmelas Tower.
Yeah, it's a rough one. And at one point, the trail diverges into two, and if you go off to the right, the monsters are suddenly way harder.
Are dead. I was dead because I am finding it. I have a bit of orienteering issues in big map games. Ironic that I'm doing a podcast about trails when I can't find my way. But I did go in the wrong direction and got absolutely wrecked and had to backtrack.
Probably a good time to flag. There is a mini-map here. There's no excuse for Matt. But there aren't mini-maps in the dungeons. But some lovely soul made some maps on a website, and we'll put that in the show notes. If you are struggling with navigation, that's the resource for you there. It also shows where chests are and stuff, which is quite nice.
If you're anything like me, my issue is, especially in older games where, it's a repeated tile set or whatever, if I can spin my camera around and I don't have a map, I will get lost. I just will. It's something I know about myself. It's something I'm at peace with, but it does take me longer to get through a tower or a dungeon or a mine if it all looks a bit the same. And it's exactly what caught me going in the wrong direction on that map to the dungeon. And I was like, oh, I guess this is the game's way of politely telling me, no, not this way. But we made it to Esmelas Tower, and it's time to rescue some kids. We charged straight into this big, mysterious, ancient tower that's just kind of hanging outside of town.
Just hanging out. We go up to the second floor. We hear the kids there, so we rush off to find them. There's a moment where you get a choice to either rush ahead as Estelle or have Estelle and Joshua go in sync. And I think if you pick to go in sync with Joshua, you get a couple bonus BP points at the end of the chapter.
You do, yeah. Sometimes the game will drop these little extra choices into missions and side quests. One will give you a bonus, the other won't. Usually it's pretty obvious. Sometimes it's a bit opaque, but this one's pretty clear.
Sometimes it's a bit opaque.
We've seen demonstrated throughout the prologue, Estelle just rushes in, so taking the time to sort of think for a second and be like, no, maybe I should work as a team in my team will reward you semi-handsomely.
This is one of the more obvious ones. Sometimes they can be weird, but this is a good one. And a good little character moment that she's learned something. And so they go and rescue the kids, and you win the fight, and you have this funny system for the first time where the NPCs you're protecting are on the battle map with you. And if their HP drops to 0, they'll die.
So you have no control over them.
No control. They tend to be pretty good about, like, staying back. Like, they don't usually charge to the front lines or anything like that, but they will walk from side to side around the back line. Occasionally, you'll get a little dialogue box of them being like, ah, or something. But yeah, you just gotta keep them safe by killing the monster before they kill the kids, because that's kind of the only thing you can do. And then Estelle's to the rescue, and the kid is very upset about having been saved by Estelle. A girl.
Saved by a girl who's younger than him and doesn't know how to have feelings.
It's really bad. It's a really rough time in Luke's life.
He gets his comeuppance for his misogyny because she's like, shut up, and then immediately more monsters come to attack him.
Unfortunately, Estelle also didn't notice them coming up because she was telling him to shut up. Joshua is like, I can't make it in time. And then, bum-ba-da-dum, Cassius to the rescue.
Wine Dad is here. And he, very impressively, bing bang boom, solves everything, and then says, Estelle, you dummy. You should have been paying attention. Yeah. To her credit, I find Estelle is very reasonable as a protagonist. She's outspoken and emotional, but she's not defensive because she's just immediately like, I got checked. Absolutely. I should have been doing better. Sorry. It's a nice energy to have.
No, it's very good. So we're good there. We're saved. We're safe. We got a glimpse of why everyone keeps saying that Cassius is really cool. And it's time to escort the kids back to town to safety. And hopefully they won't keep doing this. We report in, I think, at the guild, and Cassius goes on home first, and we get a letter that we're supposed to deliver to Cassius when we get home.
He's getting a newspaper, he's getting a letter, like, we're basically just delivering him all of his literature today, on top of getting schooled by him.
In the tower. So we get home, we give the letter to Cassius, and he is just kind of, like, jolly whined-out about it, but then after the kids leave his office, he opens the letter, and is immediately, we don't know what's in it, but it's something serious. He's like, what? And then he says, I think he says, the Erebonian Empire?
Dun dun dun.
We don't really know much about it at this point, but clearly that's an empire. And they often do empire things.
He doesn't seem excited to hear about them either.
No, he's not thrilled. And then we have, we're at family dinner, and Cassius informs us that he's going off on a trip for work. And Estelle is not happy about this, because he's always going on trips for work.
And especially after she just cooked him a delicious, mostly edible meal, because Estelle Bright is yet another in the ongoing saga of JRPG waifus who can't cook.
But here's the thing. She explodes the eggs, but then it's really yummy. And everyone is telling her, it's surprisingly yummy. She goes, uh-oh, I exploded the eggs, but then it's delicious. She calls it, like, egg-splosion over rice.
I guess it's edible, or maybe their standards are just really low. If they're cycling between the three of them cooking, they just accept that every third day is going to be an experience.
But apparently this one actually turns out yummy. Everyone's like, I'm shocked that this is actually really tasty, because this was an explosion in the kitchen that worked out. Yeah, Cassius announces that he's got to go leave for work, and you get a first sense of, like, tension in this family beyond the fact that there's wine bottles everywhere, because that hasn't really been commented on yet, because Estelle's not happy about him leaving for work. You get the impression he often has to travel for work. He's often gone for periods of time. Estelle's really not happy about it, but she also understands that it's clearly important. He doesn't really say what it is, but Cassius says, you have to do all of my work while I'm away. Now, that's not quite how it's going to work out.
Junior braces, class 9s, you need to do my dad work.
I think Schera gets the really hard stuff, but he is like, and you can do all of my other work that I had signed up to do for the next few days. And Estelle has a funny line. She's like, I guess I'll do this to repay your old man ass for raising me for 16 years. Kind of cute.
But at the same time, it's like, hey, new co-workers on your first day that you started at 3 p.m., please take over my entire workload. Bye.
Hazing.
That's a bad colleague.
But at least he rescues your ass when you're about to get bodied by monsters in the tower.
I guess.
I guess.
But after dinner, Dad's got to go out and have his wine on the porch.
That's actually what they say. Isn't Joshua like, Dad's drinking on the porch again?
I don't know if that's the exact line, but my line in there is, Dad's out drinking on the porch again. Then immediately tries to get his underage son to drink with him.
Joshua is a responsible 16-year-old, unlike me at 16, who's like, I'm not going to drink, I'm underage.
Yeah, don't be a square, Josh. Drink with your dad.
You do get the impression that Cassius is a bit like Estelle and that he ribs Joshua a bit for stuff like, watching the scene, part of me is like, I wonder if he offers it because he knows Joshua's going to play the straight man kind of thing, and he like plays it. Like, it is interesting how his dynamic with Joshua, it's not the same as Joshua's dynamic with Estelle, but Estelle and Cassius are goobers.
Yes.
And Joshua is the straight man.
Absolutely. He's just getting attacked on all sides at all times in his life by these two antagonistic goobers. And yeah, absolutely, Cassius is offering because he knows Josh is responsible. I can't stop saying Josh.
Yeah.
Joshua.
It's okay. You guys know each other that well.
We're close. He's my brother, question mark. But if you offer Joshua a drink, he's going to say no. If you offer Estelle a drink, she's going to go from 0 to keg stand immediately.
It's really true.
He knows which kid to ask. Josh says, nah, I don't want to drink. It's like, sounds like some shit's going down. Is that what right, Dad? He says, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we get a bit of a sus convo here. It's clear that there's a lot that's unsaid here. A lot of stuff that Estelle doesn't know either, that they both know, but you don't really know what that is. It's clear that they're talking about stuff that they're not saying out loud, but that they both understand.
Yeah, a lot of unspoken things. It's nice. It's nice for a bit of foreshadowing for things we're going to learn later. Because it's absolutely fair that these characters wouldn't explain every element of their motives, every moment of the game. Not always true in RPGs, let's be real.
True.
Having that suspense and being able to get little hints of information from the story, the side quests, all these newspapers and publications you can pick up that all link back to your life every single time.
Yeah.
I love personalized news feeds. One thing I don't love, and I noted it down at this point in the game, is I don't like Cassius's mustache. I really don't. His thin little John Waters ass mustache. I think it looks nasty. And when he says weird dad things, it only makes it worse.
I can see what you mean. I don't even think about it at this stage. I'm just kind of used to it. Like, and it does look a bit different in I mean, he still has a mustache later installments, but it always looks a bit different. But he's like just such a goober to me that I don't even notice his character design. But I'm really not a very visual person. So I also, like, I'm the person who often someone will talk about my favorite character's design, and I'm like, wait, they have a belt? Like, I don't notice things visually a lot. So, like, I'm aware Cassius has a mustache. It's not a Hitler mustache, I know that.
It's not.
And it fits on his face. It doesn't go past, like, his cheekbones. It's not like one of those giant comical mustaches. And all I really know is that it's somewhere in between. I cannot conjure. I know his face. I feel like I know his face perfectly, and yet I cannot conjure what his mustache looks like in my head.
It just looks like a little brown worm on his lip. It's so undetailed. I don't like it. But that's for me to dislike. It's okay. He's going to be away for a long stretch of time again, so I don't have to look at it, which is great.
Oh, another thing I wanted to point out that's interesting, just in terms of the character relationships here, is that at the dinner table, when Cassius is saying he has to go away, he really plays down what he's going away for to Estelle. Like, he's like, yeah, it's work and it's important, but he's not. The fact that he opens the letter and is like, oh my god, this is really serious, you don't get that energy when he's telling Estelle he has to go away. But then when he's out on the porch with Joshua's like, yeah, so this is a lot more serious than you let on to Estelle. Like, not in those words, but that's kind of the conversation they're having, is they both know that Cassius is pretending this is less serious than it is to Estelle, and they're both aware that it is more serious.
Because at first it does kind of read during dinner that he might have just been downplaying it because you don't talk about work, but it turns out that even though they are co-workers now, it's still something that is playing close to the chest. It's like, yeah, it's a work thing. Being braces, junior braces, class 9, doesn't automatically get you the in on what's going on with Dad. Estelle maintains her image of Dad's just off doing work again.
Boring middle-aged man stuff.
Meanwhile, Josh can read between the lines and just says, hey, Dad, are you going to come home with another child?
There's also some really interesting lines between Cassius and Joshua, where Cassius is like, says something along the lines of, you're at a stage now where you actually, like, have to think about who you want to be as an adult. He says something like, is what you said to me 5 years ago something along the lines of, are you going to keep that promise you made, or are you still going to do what you said you were going to do? Like, there's something, and Joshua doesn't answer.
Yeah.
And Cassius then says something along the lines of, no matter what happens, you can't erase the 5 years you were part of this family. And it's really interesting.
They set up this big promise, which also establishes that Joshua has been an honorable man since the age of 11, because he keeps his promises. But we're not sort of clued into what exactly that is just yet. It's another bit of foreshadowing. It's very exciting, but it's nice to have these layers of complexity so early on.
It makes sense. Obviously, this dead boy child that Cassius brought in, who somehow wasn't dead, there was clearly something that led him to be there. And we don't know what it is yet. But it's interesting that while they clearly don't talk about whatever Joshua's history is or Estelle, it's nice to be able to get a glimpse of Joshua in the way he acts around Estelle, and then also to Joshua that is not like, oh, he's just a totally different normal kid now that he's 16 and it's been 5 years. There's stuff that he's struggling with too. We don't really know what it is yet, but it's clear that he's struggling with some stuff. And Cassius knows about it, but he's the dad and Estelle's the sister, not sister. So it also makes sense that he talks about the serious stuff with his dad and not his not sibling.
They clearly imply that while this secret is from his past, it's not resolved. It's something that's still having an impact on him going forwards, because talking about erasing last 5 years as to kind of return back to whatever the situation of his arrival to the Bright family was, it's something he's still got to figure out.
Yeah.
Is still on his mind, and Dad's just checking in and is like, this is serious and you've got to figure out how to be a man and what you're going to do. Make sure that Estelle doesn't walk off a cliff or something.
You do get the impression that Estelle's the one who really wanted to be a bracer, and Joshua was down, but that Joshua wouldn't have independently gone around and decided to become a bracer if not for the fact that Estelle wanted to. He doesn't seem to resent it or anything like that, but it does seem like Estelle's the driving force behind being a bracer.
He's definitely the sort of a passive but willing participant.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, chill. But left to his own devices, he'd probably still be playing harmonica on the balcony.
Monica? Exactly.
That's that then.
Lex, that was a fun and deep dive into our first day in the lovely nation of Liberl. What's coming in episode 2?
Well, episode 2, we're going to finish the prologue. We still have most of it to go, but there's less to talk about in the next chunk of it. But we're going to get to the end of the prologue, and there will be a title card saying that you're at the end of the prologue. So if you're playing along with us, that should be pretty simple to look out for.
Episode 1, much like the first half of the chapter, is a lot about place setting. But now that we know how to fight and how to look up jobs on a job board, a skill that I still need to continue developing, we can move on and get some bracer work done. So, for next episode, it's all the way to the end of the prologue.
Very exciting. I think that's going to be all for today. So thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Trails Through Trails. You can find info on our show art and music in the show notes, and you can find us on the Orbital at trailspod.online, and on Blue Sky, Instagram, and on the Everything app as TrailsPod, or you can send us an email at trailsthroughtrails@gmail.com with any questions, comments, corrections, or compliments. Next episode, we'll be discussing everything up to the end of the prologue. So until then, I've been your host, Lex.
And I've been Matt.
And we'll see you next time. Bye!